Hi YouTube. Today we're going to talk a little bit about career paths and management and team performance because they're all related. I have a lot of people at my current company who want to go down the manager path. They are engineers and they want to become managers, so I have to give them this little speech about being managers. And one of those is about what it means to be a manager, what your goals are about being a manager, and then how you're measured. So your role as a manager is fundamentally to achieve company goals with resources. And resources include your teams, but you may also have a budget, you may have other teams that you can call upon to get things done. You always have like HR and other units that you could utilize for certain functions. But all of this comes down to having the goal of achieving higher revenue, higher sales, shipping software faster because we're in engineering management, but usually in engineering management, that software has to drive sales, lower costs, right? Something like that. So that's your goal. And then to achieve that goal, you have to work through your team. And so the higher performing your team, the higher performing you are. That is how you're measured. The performance of your team is the performance of you. So there's two pieces to that. One is, of course, hiring great people and putting them on a team and having that team work well. But then there's taking the people that you have and making them more effective. So how do you do that? Well, that's tough, but it turns out that there's a lot of research that's been done on this, and Google has done a lot of it, and they actually found that there are only 5 things that really made a difference. So we're going to talk about those 5 things today. The first one, the most important one, is psychological safety. There are a lot of companies out there that do not feel psychologically safe. People feel if they make a mistake, they'll be fired instantly, they'll get yelled at, they'll be insulted, denigrated, treated poorly in front of other people. And that's actually, especially out here in Asia, not that uncommon, unfortunately. And so what people do is, instead of getting things done, they try to, cover for themselves and others and hide their mistakes. And this is a problem because instead of fixing the mistakes, they're hiding the mistakes. And then you as a manager have something really go wrong long after it broke and long after it was easy to fix. So it's in your best interest to make it very safe to approach you about anything that goes wrong, people to feel safe where if they make a mistake that they're not going to have their head ripped off, and that you can learn and recover from those mistakes successfully. And then therefore, because it's safe, people can start to open up, trust each other, rely on each other, and be proactive about solving problems as opposed to being proactive about hiding them. Okay? So that's the number one goal, is to make sure that people feel safe. And it's very hard in general. It's even harder here in Asia because it's a very culturally different vibe to do that. But that's your number one goal. The second is making sure that people are dependable. So if people say they're going to do something, that they actually do it. And that, for you, is role modeling. If you tell your team you're going to do something, you better believe you do it. What I have is I have this commitments folder in Notion that I check every single day, and every time I make a promise to someone, I put it in that list. And that is the first thing I look at every morning, where I have a set of commitments and I make sure that those commitments are honored. And that way I build the dependability of my team because I role model dependability myself. And then I expect the same from the squad leaders that report to me, and they can expect the same from their engineers. We also set that up as part of our OKRs, where we have this one OKR called committed versus completed for the tasks. So each sprint, the team commits to doing certain work, and it's expected that the work they commit to gets done. And they, before we had that OKR, they would try to commit to all sorts of things, but it wouldn't get done. So they'd try to look good by promising a lot, but then they wouldn't deliver. And what I've been instilling in them is that it's better to deliver what you say consistently than to try to promise too much. So that's how I've been building dependability, and it's something you should consider as well. And then if you are a software engineer watching this, take that to heart. Don't promise too much. You feel like you win points by promising a lot, but really it's better if you just deliver what you promise. The next one is clarity and structure, right? People have a hard time, teams and individuals, they have a hard time being high performance if they're not really clear what success looks like. And many managers and leaders are actually very bad at setting clear goals for what that looks like. And I was in a conversation yesterday with an engineer about our career ladder, and they were unclear about how we would measure certain aspects. So I had to take that down as a note and say, you know what, you're right. We thought this was clear when we wrote it down, but it's not, and fix it. Okay. Clarity is really important. So I usually look at a couple things there that I use to try to make sure that I'm being as clear as I know how. The first is, as much as possible, objective measures of success, where if there's some metric we can use, that's listed, and usually I need 2 or 3 so that people don't game the systems. A lot of times, if you just have one metric, it's easy to game, but if you have 2 or 3 related metrics, it gets much harder to game them, because if you game one to go up, the other one goes down, and people have to do what you need them to do. The second is context, and I make it really clear, I say it over and over again, that the goal of these metrics is a measuring stick, but it's not the actual objective most of the time. Sometimes it is, but most of the time they're just a measuring tool. And the objective is to, say, increase revenue, or the objective is to lower support costs, right? If we achieve a bunch of metrics, but somehow we look and support costs haven't gone down or revenue hasn't gone up, then we didn't really achieve anything, right? So the teams need to know not only what the metrics are that you're using to judge, but what the goal is, and understand that the goal is more important, and we're all held to account for that goal. Okay, so that's the important part: clarity and a structure, team structure, to help achieve whatever those goals are with the clarity, right? The next one is meaning, and this goes with clarity, where people have to know that what they're doing matters. There's a lot of jobs out there where you're doing stuff every day, but you just feel like you're a cog on the machine. It's very disempowering. It's very boring. You don't feel like you're necessarily learning a lot or having a lot of impact. You're just there to kind of push paper, even if you're not. But the teams need to know that. And a lot of leaders are bad at communicating the impact of their actions and celebrating the impact of the successes of the team. So you should be, ideally at least every month, and definitely every quarter, throwing a kind of little mini party and congratulating the individuals in your team for what they've achieved, and going over in detail what impact their actions have had on the company or the division as best you can, how you've made things better. And if you're not making things better, then you should ask yourself why you're there and why they're there. Because maybe the impact you need to have is fixing that. Maybe the whole company is missing the boat here. The last one is connected to that is the impact, right? So meaning and impact are related, where you have to have a sense of purpose, that the individuals are there, but also that what you do impacts the company. So focus on those things: meaning for the individuals, impact for the company that they know and is connected to that meaning, structure and clarity around your goals. Make sure that they're well established, understood, both in terms of their objective ramifications, but also like the global context for the company, why you have those goals, and that people feel safe to try and experiment and strive and make the occasional mistake, as long as they're working towards better and higher levels of excellence. If you can do all those things, which is not easy, but you can do all those consistently, then in general teams tend to become higher performing over time. And so start with that. Really try to be honest with yourself about whether you're doing all 5 of those things, and then even if you are, constantly ask yourself how you can do those 5 things better for your team, and your success as a manager will genuinely go up.